Okay, today is what? Today is Gimel Cheshvan. The truth is, I can talk to you about the yahrzeit of the Ruzhiner. Today's the Ruzhiner, the Heilig Ruzhiner is yahrzeit. We can talk about that, but I'm not gonna. Okay, we're gonna talk about Zayin Cheshvan. If you haven't heard about Zayin Cheshvan, don't worry about it, neither has anybody else. Because this is a holiday that the Rebbe pulled out of the deep freeze. The Rebbe has a bunch of Yom Tifs that no one ever heard of. Some of them we heard of them, but you know much about them. But the Rebbe Pashut made Yom Tovim out of days that most people don't consider special. I'll give you a list, okay? Chamish Asa B'Shvat, the Rebbe made up. Although many Sfardim keep Chamish Asa B'Shvat, but he made a big deal out of it. Purim Katan is the Rebbe's Yom Tif. Whoever heard of Purim Katan? I mean, no, but the day, you don't say Tachlan, that's where it ends. But the Rebbe Purim Katan is a big Yom Tif. Pesach Sheni is the Rebbe's Yom Tif. Lag BaOmer is the Rebbe's Yom Tif. And one that you probably never heard of, Yud Beis Sivan. Yud Beis Sivan, the Rebbe made it into a Yom Tov. Yud Beis Sivan is a holy special day. And then of course Chamish Asa B'Yov. I think that's like 6 different days that some people know about, some people don't know about, and the Rebbe made a big deal out of them. Zayin Cheshvan, Chamish Asa B'Shvat, Purim Katan, Pesach Sheni, Lag BaOmer, Yud Beis Sivan, and Chamish Asa B'Yov are all the Rebbe's holidays. Now, a lot of those holidays other people know about. A lot of those holidays some people keep. But the Rebbe made every year a big deal out of it. A very, very big deal. What happens on Cheshvan? What happens on Cheshvan is a very simple thing. And by the way, today is Gimel, right? So today is Monday. So Gimel, so Tuesday is Daled, Wednesday is Hey, Thursday is Vav, and Friday is Zayin. So if you live in Eretz Yisrael, this Thursday night to Friday, they're going to start saying V'sein Talamat Levrach. Today is the beginning of November. We're not going to say V'sein Talamat till December 5th or 6th. The night to the 5th or the night to the 6th, depending on the year. In other words, the 4th to the 5th is the 5th, the 5th to the 6th is the 6th. That's how I'm phrasing it. In Israel, they start saying Cheshvan. In Eretz Yisrael, they start saying V'sein Talamat on Friday. Okay, now who cares? Who cares? The Rebbe made it into a whole holiday. And there's a story behind the holiday. What's the story behind the holiday? The story behind the holiday is that according to the Mishnah and the Gemara, they should say V'sein Talamatar for the first day Sukkot, really. From Tesvav Tishrei, they should say V'sein Talamatar. But you don't want to say V'sein Talamatar on Sukkot because you're sitting in the Sukkah, you ask Hashem for rain, and you don't really mean it because you don't want it to rain in the Sukkah. So you wait till after Sukkot. So in Eretz Yisrael, Sukkot is only 8 days. They don't have 9 days, right? By them, Simchas Torah was Thursday. Friday was the lazy day between Thursday and Shabbos in Eretz Yisrael, right? So truthfully, they should start saying V'sein Talamatar last Friday. Chav Gimel Tishrei should say V'sein Talamatar. They wait 2 whole weeks. From a Friday to a Thursday, from a Friday to a Thursday, and then Friday they start saying V'sein Talamatar, because it takes 14 days for the Yidden who are L'regel to go back to their homes. Yidden came to the Beis HaMikdash, and of course those days they didn't travel with rockets or with jet airplanes or even propeller airplanes. They didn't even have motor cars, right? They either walked or they went by horse and wagon or by horse. And Yidden lived hundreds of miles away from Eretz Yisrael. The Jews who lived in the Har Paras on the Euphrates, to the north and to the east of Eretz Yisrael, it's far away. It took them 2 weeks to get home. So none of the Yidden in all of Eretz Yisrael asked for rain, because a couple of the Yidden were still on the road going back from Aliyah L'regel. The last Yidden came home Zayin Cheshvan, and to me it makes sense that they probably came home Vav Cheshvan. So Vav at night, to Zayin, you right away start to say V'sein Talamat Levrach. That's how it is in Eretz Yisrael. So the Rebbe made this into a Yom Tov. What's the Yom Tov? That until Zayin Cheshvan, you're still going away from Tishrei. So basically, the Rebbe extended Sukkot by 2 more weeks. Instead of Sukkot being a week, Sukkot became 3 weeks. From Tesvav Tishrei until Zayin Cheshvan, by the Heilig Rebbe was Yom Tov. And you saw it in his behavior. First of all, something that everybody could see, the stage that they would put up at the front of the shul for Tishrei, that now that stage where the Rebbe sits, that stage is there permanently. That stage used to come down every year. So it used to come down the day after Sukkot. Once the Rebbe started speaking about Zayin Cheshvan, which is like 1982 or 83, the stage stayed up for 2 more weeks. Tishrei finished Zayin Cheshvan. Till Zayin Cheshvan was Tishrei by the Rebbe. Number 2, the Rebbe verbringt every Shabbos. The Rebbe didn't verbring every Shabbos. The Rebbe verbringt Shabbos Bevorchim. When the Rebbe introduced this new holiday called Zayin Cheshvan, so he would verbring Bereishis, he would verbring Noyach, he would verbring Lech Lecha, he would verbring every Shabbos till Zayin Cheshvan, and only then did he take his break till Kislev, which is going to be a packed Chodesh again. So by the Rebbe you saw B'Poyel. Once the Rebbe introduced this new Yom Tif called Zayin Cheshvan, which extends Tishrei by 2 weeks, he practiced what he preached. Number 1, he stayed on the stage for 2 more weeks. Number 2, he made a fabring in every Shabbos, and there's a number 3, and that's the most important thing. It's hard to describe this if you didn't experience it. But on Sukkot, the Rebbe didn't just act happy. He was happy. You could feel it in his body language. On Sukkot, the Rebbe wasn't only happy when he was swinging his hand. Everything about the Rebbe was simcha. When the Rebbe introduced this new holiday called Zayin Cheshvan, the Rebbe had Sukkot for 3 weeks. He was just in a good mood till Zayin Cheshvan. He was chronically happy. It was Tishrei. For the Rebbe, Tishrei didn't end till Zayin Cheshvan. And the Rebbe used to ask that people should stay. People came for Yom Tif, and the Rebbe said, stay, what's 2 more weeks, right? Now, if you're a man or a woman with a family and a job, Rachmana litzlan, yeah, taking off a week of work is hard enough. Traveling back to Israel to America for Sukkot is very big B'Sidus Nefesh. Most people went home after Simchas Torah. Who stayed till Zayin Cheshvan? The unemployed. Who's unemployed? The Lubavitch, the Bocharim for sure, the girls maybe, and a Yid by the name of Zusha Volomovsky, who was a very special chassid. His whole world was the Rebbe. He was so dedicated to the Rebbe, he would say to Zayin Cheshvan. The Rebbe said Zayin Cheshvan, and the Tishrei, he said to Zayin Cheshvan. That was it, he said to Zayin Cheshvan. The Rebbe Zusha was a very, very special Yidl. Very special man. A big chassid, a big servant of the Rebbe. He served the Rebbe mitanemis with B'Sidus Nefesh and great success. So the Rebbe made a new Yom Tif, Zayin Cheshvan, and it's connected to when they say V'sein Talamot in Eretz Yisrael. But the truth is, you should start saying V'sein Talamot right after Simchas Torah. And you wait 2 more weeks so the last of the Jews could get home. So the Rebbe had 2 more weeks of Sukkot. Okay? You understand what I just said? That's how the Rebbe works. 2 more weeks of Simcha. Now I want to throw this in because it's negir to us. In 1973, Tafshin Lamed Dalet, 50 years ago, 51 years ago, Yidden fought a war, the Yom Kippur War. For those who do not know, the Yom Kippur War lasted 20 days. Yidden are fighting a war now. You know that. They're fighting a war. Every day Jews are fighting. And this war is more than 12 months old. It's a very long war. Hashem has to bless. There should be more miracles, and there should be no Jewish losses, and we should finish our enemies in the kind of way that we'll never have to fight again. If we finish business off, which means you have to kill him and you have to embarrass him. You have to kill the dead, and you have to. Those who will stay alive, they have to be so ashamed. You have to make them look so stupid that they are ashamed to think on Marcheshvan Zara. All they want to do is be Israel's friends. Why? It's the nature of our enemy. It's not our choice. It's their choice. And Mekedish Halfen. Everybody understands this, but you got to do it, and doing it is hard. So the Yom Kippur War, which lasted 20 days, the Rebbe spoke then that the way to win the war is through Simcha. And the Rebbe said the proof is that the Eibishter arranged that the war should start on Yom Kippur when you don't say Tachna, which is the Eibishter's message that this war we're going to win through Simcha. So now in 2024, Tafshin Pei Hei, we have another week of Simcha. Now, B'chlal, Lubavitchers are always very machmir about the yin of Simcha, or they're very makel about the yin of not being with Simcha. So we have Simcha always, but the Simcha of Chodesh Tishrei in Lubavitch by the Rebbe contains the Zayin Cheshvan. So the koyach for Nitzachen and for defeating our enemies because of the Simcha, it doesn't end a couple of days ago when we had the Rosh Chodesh. It continues for another 4 days. So we have 4 more days of Simcha, and after that we'll find another reason to be b'Simcha. Don't worry about it. The Eibusha should help that our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael should defeat their enemies soundly. And every single one should come home alive and well and healthy. Amen. Amen. Anyway, so Zayin Cheshvan extends Tishrei by a week. Who did it? The Lubavitcher Rebbe. We happen to be as Chassidim and we're better for it. It's one of the Rebbe's Yom Tovs, okay? But when the Rebbe introduced a Yom Tov, he spoke about it. B'chlau, anything the Rebbe introduced, he explained. And he explained it and explained it and explained it and explained it and explained it. He would defend it. If the Rebbe came up with a mitzvah, I remember this myself, and I'm a late comer to the game of Lubavitch. If the Rebbe made a mitzvah, he explained why he made it. And he would defend it against all critics. People would criticize, and the Rebbe would defend it and defend it and defend it, sometimes for months. So when the Rebbe started making Zayin Cheshvan into a Yom Tov, which is about the early 80s, the early mems, so every year was a Fabrengen in Zayin Cheshvan. And until Memches, when the Rebbetzin passed away, there were no more weekday Fabrengens. And he would explain Zayin Cheshvan, he would defend Zayin Cheshvan, and he would talk about Zayin Cheshvan. It became like a whole thing in Lubavitch. And the same is true for all the other dates that I just listed. Whatever they are, B'Shvat and Purim Katan and Pesach Sheni. The Rebbe's Yom Tovs, they're written in the calendar, but who knows anything about them? Each Yom Tov the Rebbe introduced, he talked about it, and opened it up on the level of Torah, and he brought it down to a level of Avodah, and we're better for it, we're richer for it, Baruch Hashem. So what I did here is, I brought in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. This Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, Siman Kuf Yud Zayin, where the Alter Rebbe talks about Saint Talamater. I want to read it with you, okay? I gave it to you. You each one of you have a copy of this. You're welcome to keep notes, to keep it. If you're not interested in keeping it, I'm just asking you to return it, because I probably will use it. I don't know when I teach seminary next. I have seminary 4 periods a week, right? Today is two tomorrow. I'm going to have probably a different group of girls. I'm going to reuse this again tomorrow. Maybe I'll see how I feel. But maybe get to Chals and Mutten, depends on my mood. But the Revaila, I'm thinking to teach it. I want to learn with the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, and I want to teach you something. I'll make a point. I've done this a few times already. These copies are not new. I pulled them out of my folder, Rebbe Zog. But a new idea just entered into my mind that is a Fabrengen in itself. It's a Fabrengen in itself. It's a Fabrengen in itself. Okay, so we're going to have a Fabrengen now. But in order to have the Fabrengen, we have to learn a little Shulchan Aruch. So look inside from the beginning. I'm not going to read it all. I'm going to read some parts of it. We have until 25 to 12, right? That's a yes. So I got time. I'm not in a rush. Correct? Yeah. Thank you for saying yeah. I appreciate it. Okay. Okay. By the way, when your husband talks to you, make sure you answer him with words, because he's not going to hear your thoughts. Even when you speak with words, he's not going to hear you. When you speak with thoughts, forget about it. Men are stupid. You have to tell them what you think, and even then they don't hear. And if you think it, and you think it's so obvious, you should understand himself. Never gonna get it. Never gonna get it after 50 years of marriage. Never gonna get it. I told it to you. Don't say nobody warned you. I told it to you. It's not a funny joke. It's a serious situation. Okay. We're starting from the beginning. Sif Aleph. Birchais Hashonim. Shemoneh Esrei has 19 brachas. Every bracha Shemoneh Esrei has a name, right? The first bracha is called Oves, which is about Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The second bracha is called Gevures. The third bracha is called Kedusha. The fourth bracha is called Das. Every bracha has a name. There's one bracha in Shemoneh Esrei which is about Parnasa. What is the name in the bracha about Parnasa? It's not called Parnasa. It's not called Mezoinus. It's not called Gelt. It's called Shonim. Years. That's what it's called. The bracha about Parnasa is called years. You know why? Because Parnasa is handed out by the Eibishter in a yearly cycle. Every year, the Eibishter decides what's going to be this year and what's going to be next year. So the bracha Parnasa reflects the cycle of time of a single year. Does anybody know Hebrew? Of course, you all know Hebrew, right? What does Shana mean? Year. What else does it mean? To learn. What else does it mean? To change. What else do it mean? To repeat. A year is a cycle of change that repeats itself over and over and over again. You have 4 seasons. You have fall, you have winter, you have spring, you have summer, and what comes after that? Fall and winter and spring and summer. And what comes after that? Fall and winter and spring and summer. You understand? I can explain it somewhere. You understand? That's how it works. So a Shana is a composite of every change repeating itself. So Shana represents the idea that things are constantly changing, and at the same time it represents that as much as they change, they remain the same. And Parnasa is handed out by the Eibishter on a yearly basis. Even though after this year comes next year, and next year is the same as this year, and even though after next year comes the year after that, and the year after that's going to be the same as the next year, that's how Hashem operates. He dishes out Parnasa to all of us and to each one of us individually on a year-by-year basis. So we have a bracha about Parnasa, which took its blessings, Baruch Aleinu Ad Hashem Elokeinu Es Hashana Hazes. What's the bracha? That the stock market should go well? Nope. That what we sell for a living should become valuable and rare, and we should be able to charge a high markup, make a lot of money? Nope. That the real estate prices shouldn't drop, which make a lot of money? Nope. We ask for one thing. Rain. Right? How do you say rain in Hebrew? Geshem. So the Baal Shem Tov Taich, Geshem doesn't mean rain, Geshem means Gashmias. Baal Shem Tov Taich that. But we ask for rain. Why? Because even though people live in the city hate rain, if there's no rain, there's no food. If there's no food, there's no meat and chicken either. And eggs, because they eat grass, which feeds the chickens and the beef and whatever else that we eat, you understand? If there's no rain, there's no life. So Birchas Hashanim is the Eibishter, the Bracha Shmoneh, written by the Anshe Ketz, which is about Parnasa, is about rain, and it's raining in seasons. So Birchas Hashanim, this bracha, which is called Shanim, which means years, which is connected to Parnasa, which is connected to rain, tzarech lishel b'moter. You have to ask for rain. You don't just thank Hashem for the rain, you have to ask for rain. How do they say it in American? How do you say it in American? Gimme. It's one word, gimme, G-I-M-M-E, gimme, or G-I-M-E-E-E, gimme, 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 gimme. You ask the Eibishter, gimme, you're supposed to, it's a mitzvah to daven to the Eibishter. And in the course of the year, at some times, you say, gimme rain. B'yamei sagashamim, only in the winter time. Why did they put the gimme for rain in this bracha, which is about time? Because rain has everything to do with sustenance, with feeding ourselves and our families and providing what we need with Hashem's help. Bebracha, ubatzlacha, ubebriyas, kavua beberachas parnasa. In the bracha, which speaks about parnasa, we talk about rain because rain equals parnasa. Okay? So now the question then becomes: so when is the season? So I'm not going to be doing this inside. So I'll tell this to you right now. If you live underneath the equator, if you live in Brazil or in Argentina or in Chile or in South Africa or in Australia or in New Zealand or all these other places, you have the upside down schedule. When we have winter, they have summer. We have summer, they have winter. So there's a big shaila. If you live in Australia, should you ask for rain in our winter, northern winter, or should you ask for rain in their winter, in the southern winter? And the same is true, goes for South America, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, places like that. When should they ask for rain? When they have their winter or when we have ours? And it's complicated. The Alter Rebbe speaks about it, but I'm going to be skipping that part. I'm not reading with you because I want to make, like I said, I want to make a fabringen out of this shtikela, so I'm going to focus only on one point so I can have my fabringen with Hashem's help. But if you live in the northern hemispheres, if you live above the equator, more or less, we have winter at the same time. If you live in Chveisvas, in the Netherlands, if you live in Scandinavia, if you live in Denmark or Norway, the winter comes earlier and goes away later, right? If you live in England, the winter comes earlier and goes away later. If you live in Southern Europe, if you live in Chveisvas in Spain, the winter comes later and leaves quicker. It's a shorter winter because they're closer to the equator. But in the northern hemisphere, above that gartel that circles the earth, someplace in Sahara in Africa, the rain, we all have winter at the same time. And in the winter, you have to ask for rain. And I'm reading on. Anybody want to speak? Anybody want to speak? I mean it. Maybe. No questions, no comments, moving on. Please look inside and pay attention. We begin to ask for rain from the night to Zayin Marcheshvan. It means Vav at night to Zayin, which means that if you're living in Eretz Yisrael or you're flying to Eretz Yisrael this week, this Thursday night, Ben Maidiv, you're going to start saying Talamat Levrach. Now, here's a good reason to be a chassid and not a misnagid. This is a Maimon Amuzgi. What do Misnagdim do in the summer? They mean Ashkenaz shul, and by the same Misnagid, I really don't mean Misnagid. I mean Ashkenaz. Huh? Does anybody daven Ashkenaz shul, or you all brainwashed Lubavitchers? Anybody ever go to another Lubavitcher shul that was Ashkenaz? Yeah? You ever listen to Chazar Zashatz, or the girls don't do that? In the summertime, they say, Ata Gibel Le'elam Adeshem, Mechayim Mesim Ata Rav Le'ishia, Mechal Kol Chayim Bechased. They don't say Meirid at all. We in the summer say Meirid at all. In some Hasidic communities, they actually say Mashev Haruach or Meirid at all. And this is a good reason to be a chassid. You know why? Because if in the winter time, if you don't say Bash V'rocha Mered HaGeshem, but you say Mered Atol, you don't have to repeat Shemini Esrei. But if in the winter time you didn't say Bash V'rocha Mered HaGeshem, like also didn't say Mered Atol because you're Ashkenazi, you got to daven again. That's the reason to be a chassid. Is less like you have to repeat the Shemini Esrei. But that's not negiyah to us. Okay, you're supposed to ask the rain from Zayin Cheshvan. Why? You're looking inside, going back to the text. Lefi shehi eretz harim. Eretz Yisrael is a land of mountains. So, what's wrong with a land of mountains? Huh? What's wrong being a land of mountains? See, there's another thing that's not written here that's very important. Eretz Yisrael is a land of mountains and desert. That means there's no rivers. There's no river. Eretz Yisrael doesn't have. No, Eretz Yisrael has a river. It's called the Yarden, the Jordan. But as the rivers go, it's an river. It's not like the Nile, like the Nilus, or like the Euphrates, the Pras, or the Tigris, the Chidekel. These are massive rivers that have tons and tons of water. The Yarden could dry up even. It's not a very big river. So Eretz Yisrael is a land that doesn't have water in rivers and in ponds and in lakes to irrigate their fields. So they depend on rain. In order for Eretz Yisrael not to dry out, not to desiccate, for the produce, for the plants and the fruits and whatever it is that grows Eretz Yisrael to grow, the rain has to come out of the sky. So you ask for rain as soon as you can. They therefore need rain. As soon as Sukkot finishes, they have to have rain. So the Alter Rebbe now says, you're listening? To be sure, they should have actually asked for rain right after Sukkot. In other words, in Eretz Yisrael, Sukkot ended Thursday last, not Friday last. Chof Beis Tishrei, which we call Shmini Atzeres, is in Eretz Yisrael also Simchas Torah. The next day, Friday, Chof Gimel Tishrei, which is for us Simchas Torah, for them Isra Chag, they should ask for rain then. Because as soon as Sukkot is over, you ask for rain. The Emes says you should ask for rain when Sukkot starts, but it's Siman Klala B'Chag. To sit in the Sukkah and ask for rain means you're defeating yourself. So you wait till the end of Sukkot, at least after Sukkot, ask for rain. Why do you delay it 2 more weeks looking inside Ella? The answer is, they delayed asking for rain for a full 50 days, for a full half a month after Sukkot, until the Jew who's the farthest away from Eretz Yisrael, who walked from his house to the Beis HaMikdash, should get back Lebeisa to his home, and they lived in the Hapras on the river Euphrates. The river Euphrates, girls, is like someplace in Jordan or Syria. It's the Reuven and Gad and Chassid Shevet Menashe on the other side of the Yarden, which we do not have at the moment. It's far away from Yerushalayim. It's very far away. And if you're traveling by wagon or by horse or by foot, it takes 2 weeks to get home. And none of the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael asked for rain, because one Jew was still on the road going back to his house at the edges of Eretz Yisrael in the northeast. Shehu Makam Yishuv, because the Jews who lived along the Euphrates in Eretz Yisrael was a place of habitation. Hayeh said Rachek MiYerushalayim, that's furthest away from Jerusalem. V'le Yatzrenu HaGeshem. And when they're going home from Aliyah L'Regel, they don't want the rain to ruin their trip, to rain on their trip home. So none of the Yidden in all of Eretz Yisrael asked for rain until the last Jews came home, because they wanted Yidden to get home peaceably from Yom Tov, and then they started asking for rain. Questions or comments? No questions? No comments. V'af la'achar ha'churban. And the truth of the matter is, says the Alter Rebbe, that even after the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Hayu misasvim gamken. The minig remained for a long time. It's hard to know how long, But the minhag remained for a long time. Even though the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the Yidden would gather mikol hasvivis b'Yerushalayim, all the areas around Yerushalayim, leregel for Yom Tiv. Kamesh Eisim Gam Hayom, says the Alter Rebbe, we do this even now. Now, I don't know who does it now. In footnote 10 says, look, Lekutasiches Chelik Yud, page 197, which unfortunately I did not look up. But the Alter Rebbe is paskening that there's no Beis Hamikdash. There's still an idea of going leregel. There's still an idea if you live in Eretz Yisrael to pick yourself up before Sukkot, before Pesach, and before Shavuos, and go be in Yerushalayim. So in the times of the Shas, and even today, the Alter Rebbe is saying there's a concept of leregel, even though there's no Beis Hamikdash. Lefichach, therefore, since Yidden still, at least in theory, could be leregel and are leregel, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, and they have to get home. And to get home today, if you're going from Yerushalayim to the Harparos, how long does it take? By car, it takes Mistama 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, right? But 2,000 years ago, it took 2 weeks, so we still give them the same 2 weeks. Leibatlu takonas chachomim. They did not bittle the enactment of the chachomim. Shetiknu hashayla. That they established a time for ask for rain, but it's only so was Marcheshvan, and that's how it remains. Since in the olden days Yidden were leregel, and since even today Yidden should be leregel, and the Yidden farthest away from Yerushalayim are coming from the Harparos, takes them 2 weeks to travel home. Nobody asks for rain till they get home, even though they should be asking for rain right after Sukkot. You with me so far? Thank you. Next. Ube Bavel. What about in Babylon? Where's Bavel? It's someplace around Iraq, right? It's hard to know exactly which part of Iraq. Bavel is probably a city-state within what is now modern-day Iraq. Hard to know exactly, but it's in that neighborhood. It's also what's called the Gulf, right? There's two bays that converge of the bay, the Gulf of whatever Gulf it is. I guess it's called the Persian Gulf, right? Which goes up into Iraq. Now, Iraq has two huge rivers that run through it. One further from Eretz Yisrael and one closer to Eretz Yisrael. One of them is called the Chidekel, they mentioned in Bereshit, which is translated English as the Tigris. And the other is called the Pros, which is translated in English called the Euphrates. Those rivers run from north to south. They come from the mountains in the north. The snow water melts, and the rivers are replenished, and the waters flow from the north down into these two rivers. And they cut through Bavel on both sides, and then they plop into what's called today the Indian Sea, to the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, and they go out into the Indian Sea, which is the bottom of the world, okay? So they have two rivers, big rivers, full of water. So if you live in Pras, rain is not as important, because you have tons of fresh water. Rain becomes more important to people who are further away from fresh water. So if you live in Eretz Yisrael, where there is a river, but it's an river, there's not enough fresh water. Even the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee, they call it, the Yam Kinneret, there's not enough water. So you have to ask for rain for water from the rain, because without rain it's not going to be good. But if you lived in Babylon, in Bavel, and in Bavel, these big rivers, it's not so necessary it should rain, because you have plenty of water on the ground already. Now you have to appreciate historically that Yidden came to Bavel a very, very long time ago. Yidden came to Bavel when the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and they stayed there for how long? Till when? For a very long time. When was the first Beis Hamikdash destroyed? You know? Say it again. 3,338, and it was rebuilt 3,408, and it was destroyed 3,728. Right? We got it right. 3,338. No, 3,338. Yeah. Which was destroyed. Okay. Yidden lived in Bavel until the year 1040 approximately. 1040 is the year 4,800. So how much time between 3,338 and 4,800? About 1,500 years. It's a very long time. Jews lived in Bavel straight, non-stop, for 1,500 years. So when they came to Bavel and they established a community and they made a siddur, they said, we're going to ask for rain when we need it. We do not need rain right after Sukkot because we got plenty of water. So we're going to read it inside. Stop talking, you're making me very nervous. It says, Bavel and above it, last paragraph on page Shin Lamed Gimel. Ukiyetze, but in other lands like Bavel. She'eino eretz hodim ke'eretz Yisrael. It's not a land of mountains. And of course, Ikir Chosr Khan, it's not that it's not a land of mountains. It's not a land of mountains, but it is a land of water. There's plenty of rivers. There's plenty of water on the ground. You don't have to worry that it's not going to rain. There's no need for rain right after Yom Tov because the water is available in plenty on the rivers. So they delay asking for rain. They ask for rain 60 days after the beginning of the season of Tishrei. The season of Tishrei that you and I would call fall. There are 4 seasons, right? Winter, spring, summer, fall. In Hebrew, fall is called Tkufas Tishrei, winter is called Tkufas Tevis, spring is called Tkufas Nisan, and summer is called Tkufas Tammuz. Now you probably know this, that the seasons are all the same size. They're 91 days and 7.5 hours long. Because 91 plus 7.5 times 4 equals 365 and 6 hours. 91 days and 7.5 hours times 4 is 365 days and a quarter and 6 hours. The tkufas are all the same size. Now, before I came here, I took my phone out and I Googled, when does the season of fall begin? I looked it up. I Googled. I went to the Gaon Olam, Mr. Google. He's a big, big genius and there's no seichel at all, and you got to remember that. I said, because you can't always trust Google. When does the season of fall begin? It begins somewhere between September 21st and September 24th, depending on the year. Okay, now, if you're supposed to count 60 days from September 21st, 24th, when do you get? October, November, 20th to 23rd, right? When do we ask for rain? November, 5th to 6th. Excuse me, Alter Rebbe, you know how to count? We're 2 weeks ahead. And there's a reason for that. And it's very, very hard to understand. The whole thing is hard to understand. I'm not going to explain it to you, but I'm just going to tell it to you. Okay, we have 2 calendars. A calendar by a Yid named Shmuel, and a calendar by a Yid named Rab Adeh. Shmuel is one of the great Ameroyim, and Rab Adeh is the great Amoira. Both of their calendars are discussed in Rambam. Shmuel made a calendar based on how things are supposed to be. Rabbi Adeh made a calendar based on how things are in fact. Now that sounds very weird, right? Why would you make a calendar based on things are supposed to be, rather than make a calendar based on things that are supposed to be, how things are in fact? Because the sun is actually getting closer to the earth. The years are getting shorter by a few minutes. And Rabbi Adeh made the adaptations. He made the tweaks that the calendar we keep should be consistent with where the sun and the moon actually are. Shmuel makes believe they're still in the same place they were when the Eibishter made the world. So if you follow Rabbi Adeh, 60 days after the beginning of the fall season is someplace in the end of November. We do it at the beginning of December because we're following Shmuel. We start asking for rain 60 days, not after fall starts, but after fall is supposed to start if fall was the way it's supposed to be. Which is weird. It's very, very weird. But that's how it works. I'm just telling you the math, okay? For those of you who want me to repeat it, because you're interested in this, I'm going to say it a second time. I'll just do it quick. Before I came here, I Googled. I went to Moira Moireno Arav Google Ha'Ma'aretz, Gaon Ha'Ma'aretz, and I asked him, when does fall start? And he told me, usually September 23rd, 22nd and 23rd, but sometimes the 21st and sometimes the 24th. A very Jewish answer. If you count 60 days from September 21st, you get November 20th. If you count from the 24th, you get November 23rd. We start asking for rain December 5th or 6th, or 4th or 5th, as you're saying. It's 2 whole weeks after. Why? Because we do not follow Tkufas of Adeh, which is a calendar which actually reflects the seasons. We follow the Kufa Shmuel, which is the calendar that would reflect the seasons if the world remained the same as when the Eibishter made the world. The Rebbe has sichas about this. I'm titillating you. I'm not giving you the whole picture. So we're asking for rain 6 days beginning of the Tkufa, but it's not the Tkufa that we actually have. It's some ephemeral, some ruchnius dika Tkufa, which is if things would be as the Eibishter made them at the beginning of creation, there would be the right time to ask for rain. And the reason, Rabbi say, is because we don't need it. If you live in a land with tons of water, right? New York City, I mean, who knows about water in New York City? It comes out of the tap, right? New York City, for many, many years, was the center of the world. You know why? Because of a chevra man whose name is what? Hudson. Hudson lays on his back and he runs from the Appalachian Mountains down into the bay and into the Atlantic Ocean. This Hudson, this Mr. Hudson that runs all around Manhattan, gives us plenty of water. If there's water, you can live. And of course, we used the Hudson to take stuff inland and to go up into the body of America and make money and all the rest that Americans like to do. Right? The Hudson River is amazing in New York. New York. You take the Hudson River away from New York. New York is not New York, it's a desert. If you have rivers, you don't need rain. So in Bavel, they didn't need rain, they didn't have mountains. Like we did in last week's Pasha, right? They had to make bricks out of mud, they couldn't make bricks out of stone because there's no mountains in Bavel. Shinar is Bavel. But on the other hand, it wasn't a desert because there's plenty of water from the rivers, you see? So they don't need rain. Right after Sukkot, they can wait 60 days after Sukkot, and we're waiting actually a little bit more than that. Now, turn the page. I'm out of time. I thought I had plenty of time. I don't have enough time. Look at the first words on page Shin Lamed Daled. Look at the first words. Now, last time I checked, New York is not Eretz Yisrael, and New York is not Bavel. It's America. Correct? V'anu noyag kiminhagenu kibnei Bavel b'chol makom. We go like Bavel. Now, why? Why do you live in America or in Europe or in Asia? Why would you follow the minhag of Bavel rather than the minhag of Beis Rivka? Why? Why? You know what the answer is? Because when Bavli and Yerushalmi argued, the halacha is like Bavli. You heard that there's two Gemaras, right? You ever heard of it? Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi. Eretz Yisrael is Yerushalmi. Bavel is Bavli. When there's an argument between Talmud Bavli and Yerushalmi, you follow with Bavli and not follow Yerushalmi. That's all. Yidden in Eretz Yisrael do like Talmud Yerushalmi, so they ask for rain right after Sukkot. Yidden in the whole world do like Bavel, because the halacha is like Bavel, so you wait 60 days from the Tkufa, and it's a lot more than 6 days from the Tkufa to ask for rain. Does anybody have a question of what I just said?
Wait, Eretz Yisrael also Pascha.
Okay, good question. L'chayre, it's all the Pascha like Bavel. Go ahead.
Did you say before that it's actually very complicated what the Southern Hemisphere does?
Southern Hemisphere is a different question. I'm leaving that out of the equation. The answer is very simple. Bavli and Yerushalmi are not arguing me in halacha. It's different kinds of terrain. There's no machlekes Bavli and Yerushalmi about rain. Yerushalayim asks for rain after Sukkot because they need it. Bavli asks for rain 60 days at the beginning of the Tkufa because that's when they need it. It's not a machlekes. Why do Yidden living in America follow Bavli based on the principle of Bavli v'Yerushalmi halacha kabavli? It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with where you live and what kind of rain you need. Now, look, keep reading. V'yash tamo v'chol govalzeh. And some people that this doesn't make any sense. We follow Bavel because Bavel wins when Yerushalayim argues at Bavel. Look inside. Second line, it is true that normally we follow Chachmei Bavel, v'oisim k'moisam, and we do like Bavel. B'makom shenechleku Chachmei Bavel v'Chachmei Eretz Yisrael. When the rabbis of Talmud Bavli and the rabbis of Talmud Yerushalmi argue, and by the way, everybody knows that the rabbis in Talmud Yerushalmi are smarter. Everybody knows it. And we get past the Talmud Bavli. But that's what Nation Talmud Bavli we ikir, because in Gemara that's the ikir. So when it comes to halacha, when Bavli and Yerushalmi argue, you argue Bavli. This is not an argument in halacha. It has to do with geography. If you have a need, if Yerushalayim needs rain today, and we need rain next week, that's not a machlekes. It's two different places. Each place you go after its place. I don't understand. I don't understand. In Yerushalayim they ask for rain after Sukkot because they need it. In Bavel they wait 60 more days, which is actually a lot more than 60 days, because that's when they need it. So I live in Brooklyn, I should ask for rain when I need it. Not when Bavel needs it. Why am I doing like Bavel? We're paskening like Bavel when it's not even a machlokes. Now, girls, here's the punchline. Here's the fabrengen, which we're not going to have time to give. Bottom of page Shalom, that last paragraph. This is Shulchan Aruch. This is not a Chassidish Maimer. It's not a fabrengen. It's not even Sefer Amen Hagim. It's a halacha and Shulchan Aruch. Ule'inyan halacha, and according to halacha, lein iskabel svarazu. Even though it doesn't make any logical sense that you living in New York or California or in Hawaii should go like Bavel, based on the idea that when Bavel and Yerushalmi have an argument, you're passing like Bavli, because it's not a machlokes. It's two different lands. We do not accept, forgive my saying this, we do not accept common sense. We don't go with logic on this. Logically, every country should ask for rain when they need it. Nope, we all follow Bavel. Why? Because the Bavel and Yerushalayim argue, you're passing like Bavli. But it's not an argument. We follow the Bavli. Why? That's the custom. Shekvar nagu nagu meyela. It's already been accepted forever. Bechol tfutzes Yisrael, all over the Jewish world. Shechutz la'aretz, that you live outside of Israel, leilech achar b'nei Bavel, bazeh, you follow b'nei Bavel, even though if you live in Spain, or you live in France, or you live in Russia, or you live in Hungary, you live in Bulgaria, Romania, or whatever it is, wherever you live, you have different rain needs in each country. We follow Bavel like as if it's halach. So girls, you see the fabrengen here. You see the fabrengen? What's the fabrengen? We always say that Chassidim are funny. Why? They make up minhagim. They're not brought in halacha. Where does minhag come from? Oh, one Rebbetzin once said this, and now we all do this. Yeah. Here's a minhag in Shulchan Aruch that goes back 2,000 years. In Bavel, they ask for rain 60 days after the Tekufa, which is not even 60 days, probably 75 days after the Tekufa. And we follow Bavel. Why? When Bavli and Yerushalmi argued lachas like Bavli, but this is not an argument. What the answer is, this is the minhag. This is the minhag. We follow Bavel. We follow Bavel. So now, if I had time, and unfortunately I don't have time, and maybe tomorrow I'll structure my class differently, so I'll get to this a little more quickly. I'm doing this again with the seminary Beis Rivka tomorrow. I wondered if I bring about this, but I ran out of time. I made too many jokes. The Shulchan Aruch paskins. The halacha is based on logic. And you don't follow logic, you follow minhag. It's a very deep idea. It's a very deep idea. It's very important. I'll see you when I see you.